We shall never surrender.
Politics.
Where there is discord, may we bring harmony.
Current affairs.
Going to Pizza Express in Woking is an unusual thing for me to do.
Conspiracies.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Will stop coming after us.
I just received a beautiful letter from Kim Jong-un.
It concludes that Iraq has chemical and biological weapons.
I'm not guilty of harming anyone.
Well, I'm not a crook.
This is the Political Darkside Podcast. And now, here's your host, Matthew Howland.
If you only knew the power of the dark side.
Oh, wow, we're actually live. What a time to be alive.
We made it.
We did. Johnny will be joining us shortly, so in the meantime, welcome to episode 20 of the Political Darkside podcast. To commemorate reaching episode 20, I thought I would do something a little bit different by going live for the very first time with guests spanning multiple time zones, just to make it as complicated as possible for me. So this will be titled the Christmas Cocktails Conspiracy Party. Christmas, because of course it is that time of year. Cocktails, because who doesn't love cocktails? And also I have an exhilarating challenge for my guests. Conspiracy, because that's probably the main interest we all seem to have in common. And hopefully there'll be a party atmosphere until we're all sad drunks talking about the dystopian future. So that's good, isn't it? Just to introduce everyone, I'm Matthew, your usual host from Scotland. Joining me late from Poland on the front line of Putin's war in Ukraine, we have Parallel Mike. How are you coping, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm over here in my bunker in the forest. All is well. We've got plenty of supplies. We've got plenty of homemade apple cider, so we're good to go.
Well, that's a relief. Good. Day drinking live from Los Angeles, we have Monica Perez. I believe this is the first of several live cocktail-related shows you're doing in the next few days. So are you taking it easy, or is this full steam ahead?
No, I have actually a whole series of cocktails planned just for this show. So we're going to talk about the front lines. It takes a lot of cocktails to live in LA. I'll bet. I dread to think. I nearly instantly blasphemed there, and then I remembered what you'd said on that other show you were on, and I'm like, oh, better bite my tongue. Oh yeah, no, we don't. I absolutely will use any form of vulgarity, but I will not take the Lord's name in vain. And my mother, who's buried 2 children, her one consolation is like, at least my kids don't take the Lord's name in vain. So I stick with that. Yeah, that's fair enough. That makes sense. I was just looking in the studio. Then we were just joined by Jordan Peterson. I just had to second guess myself. Oh my god! I was like, "Oh, good, it's not the actual Jordan Peterson." Matt, you're the man. Although that would have. I know. I'll be like, "How's he? How did I manage to score that?" But there we go. So you know what? I'm going to add Jordan Peterson, who is not, of course, Jordan Peterson. 2 seconds. Hello, Jordan Peterson.
Hello,
William. Jordan.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I'm William from England. I'm not Jordan Peterson.
Thanks for clearing that up. So, can you tell us about your podcast, William?
Okay. Yes, I'm William from England. Showbiz name from History Homos podcast, and we are great. Well, Monica is our benefactress, and we thank her for introducing us to you and your audience. But yeah, we're kind of a black-pilled doomer humor. I mean, I don't want to say the other adjectives that apply to our podcast on YouTube, but, we're that. And, we like to have fun and learn about history.
Excellent. Yeah, well, if we could refrain from getting me chucked off YouTube, that would be phenomenal.
I will try my absolute best.
My name alone would actually, I think, might tip the scales. I'm sorry to say. I think I'm one of those people that like you'll get a strike just live, not so bad. But if you were to upload, I think, I don't know. Sorry.
Never apologize, Monica.
For blowing up people's access to their podcast. Yeah, I'm sorry about that.
No,
I saw that my last podcast appearance I did on StreamYard. Apparently, I did pretend to be Jordan Peterson, and I saw it there.
Oh,
and I thought, should I change it? And I thought, no, it's pretty funny, isn't it? I can do I have my own particular way of doing Jordan Peterson's voice. But I don't know if I can do it without saying something that will get you kicked off YouTube on reflection. So let's move on from that.
Is it too early for you to have a cocktail? Are you cocktailing, William?
I've just got back from the pub.
Oh, okay, great. You and your mustache?
I do have a cocktail.
All right, great.
Here it is.
What is
It's the English gentleman's cocktail. It's a whiskey and soda.
Oh, I see. Wow, that's very dignified.
Very posh.
Does your mustache like it?
My mustache loves it. I'm going to extra bushy because I just got measured for a tweed suit
to go with the purple silk suit that you wore the last time I saw you.
Yeah, it's kind of on the same lines. It's going to have a burnt orange lining.
Nice.
You know, I like a lining.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's possibly the mullet might go as a consequence of the.
That would be great. I did want to tell you guys about my cocktail, which he's got an English gentleman's cocktail. I have an English breakfast cocktail. Are you guys familiar with this? Is this something new? Did I have to bring this to England?
Has it got bacon and eggs in it?
It's got fried egg floating on the top.
Blood pudding, like coagulated pig's blood floating around in it.
Nice.
No, not today. But
I'd like to try that cocktail.
Yeah, tell us all about it.
So I was in England recently. I'm sorry, guys. I was there for like 3 days, so I couldn't do meetup. But I had some time before the pubs open, and I was like, you can't go to a pub before 11 a.m. And it doesn't seem like there's Bloody Marys too big there. So I found the English breakfast cocktail, which is gin, Saint Germain, which is elderflower, and a little bit of lemon juice, and English breakfast tea, a little black tea.
Oh,
so you
right. Okay.
Up and down at the same time. And it's really delicious.
Oh, sophisticated. Wow.
Yeah, really delicious.
I have to get the recipe for that off you, Monica, because I'm a big tea enjoyer.
I just posted it in the chat of this YouTube video. It was the very first thing posted, potentially. Maybe it went away. I'll repost it.
Okay,
I put it on my cocktail blog, monicamixes.com.
I've literally just arrived. I'm sorry.
There you go.
So, William.
Yeah, I was. Yep.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, I asked you if you could judge our cocktail competition. Are you a connoisseur of cocktails? I mean, given that you're from the People's Republic of Yorkshire, where pouring a tin of lager into a glass is considered a cocktail, do you think you're qualified to do this job?
I'm a cocktail enjoyer. I've appeared on our show, History Homos, drinking a whiskey sour, Monica's recipe, by the way, which I would say is the ultimate breakfast cocktail because it contains eggs, and also a margarita, just to annoy my co-host Scott because he hates anything effete.
A margarita is effete?
Kind of, yeah. It's because it's like fancy foreign muck, isn't it?
I wrote a blog post about my first time drinking a Texas-style margarita, which is basically a glass of tequila with a lime squeezed in it and some sugar, like some granulated sugar. So
I get that. Yeah,
it tastes like a drink, but it's really just straight tequila, and they serve it in red plastic 16-ounce cups.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I did this, I lived in an apartment. It was like a 2-story house, and the pool in the back was shaped like the state of Texas. and it had little mosaics on the bottom that were like Houston. It was like the rocket, taking off into space, all that kind of stuff. And I guess I spilled one on myself. I went upstairs to my bathroom to wash it in the sink, not realizing that the light inside, was just dark outside. So everyone at the party could see me changing my shirt. And then I just left the shirt in the sink with the water running until like the people downstairs were like, there's water pouring down my ceiling. And I was like, oh man, like, I don't think the Texas margarita is a feat.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like the Texas margarita was the first drink of the evening from that anecdote.
Well, in the 16-ounce glasses, like all it had to be was the first and second.
Wow. Yeah.
That was, anyway, then I had to learn how to drink like a Texan.
Yeah. I mean, drinking's great. It's one of the few sort of, let's say Western cultural norms that hasn't been destroyed yet by whatever it is that destroys norms. I couldn't possibly comment on YouTube.
It's also a sport that we're very good at.
Yeah.
Unlike football, for example.
Yeah. I mean, you told me, Matthew, you live in Scotland.
Yes. The Scots are particularly well versed in drinking.
Yeah. Home of getting drunk.
Well, yeah, literally. Drink us under the table.
No, I love Scotland. Scotland's a beautiful country, but I feel like Scotland's a bit like France in that it's a fantastic country with a rich culture and wonderful people that has just allowed itself to be got rid of, basically. Like it's in the process of being deleted from history.
Yeah, the SNP are doing their finest work.
And that's the ultimate irony is it's a supposedly nationalist party that's doing that. But like, and so like if you're an English nationalist, which I'm not, by the way, I don't care that for the nation of England, but like if you're an English nationalist, you're a racist. But if you're a Scottish nationalist, you're a good whatever it is that you're supposed to be. It's crazy, isn't it? Scotland's gone mad.
It is a very strange form of nationalism that in as much as it seems to be set up to kill itself, like you said, because as soon as independence happens, if it happens, they'll go straight back to the EU, and then it'll all be for now anyway. So it's what's the point?
Who would have thought that you could have invented a form of nationalism more self-hating than English nationalism? It's like unbelievable.
I'm wondering. Sorry. Is Scotland like Canada, where there's like an entire country north of, I'm going to say the main country?
That's why I do Jordan Peterson in a Scottish accent.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying
kind of. I mean, like, I'm trying to do Scottish Kermit when I do Jordan Peterson because there's something to that analogy. I think Canada's actually probably less you-know-whatted than Scotland is, because Scotland has got a remnant of white working class sort of people who don't care what they say. Whereas I think Canada has as well, but I don't know which one. And I think that those guys are a majority in both of those countries, but they're just not. They're clued up enough to know that it doesn't matter what they say, so they don't bother saying anything.
Monica, did you mean that as if to say like Canada's just an extra state in America?
I just remember growing up as a kid. I grew up in New York, and there's like Buffalo. Buffalo, New York is way above where I grew up, and it's always snowing. Always like for 6 months straight, it's snowing. So everybody knows somebody. Like people will be like, "Oh, I'm from Buffalo." I was like, "Wow, you're from Buffalo? Wow!" And then one time I realized there's like, holy shit, there is an entire country north of Buffalo, and every single person from Canada is like north of Buffalo, and I just couldn't. I can't. I can't understand how that exists. The only reason it could exist is if factories ran so hot that you couldn't build them any place that wasn't absolutely freezing before air conditioning. In which case it should stop existing.
Alberta is the only place on Earth that doesn't have rats because it's so cold that they can't survive outdoors.
That's enough to move there.
Yeah, and they have these draconian. But that sounds good, not having rats, doesn't it? But I mean, how much of a nuisance are rats really compared to living under draconian laws? Because in Alberta they have the Alberta, which is supposedly a bastion of freedom in Canada. You're not allowed to have a pet rat. I mean,
wow, really? But
no,
it's the one place you should be because there's absolutely no chance of infestation.
There is a chance of infestation because if they get inside, if you find a rat in your house, and you don't, or evidence of rats in your house, and you don't report it to the Stasi, you go to jail. They'll demolish your house.
Okay, let me compare that with California. The last time I lived in California, I had skunks under my house. Skunks, a family of skunks, and I had fleas coming up my wood floor of my nice new house. And I called animal control, and they said they're protected.
Yeah, they do that with
fucking skunks. Were protected, so I just had to kill them. I was like, "You can come get them if you want, but I'm killing them." She's like, "Your house will smell." It's like my house already smells.
Well, they have, in England, in Britain, I believe. I think this applies to Scotland and Wales and Northern Ireland as well. But certainly in England, every tree has what is called a tree protection order on it. So if you want to do any development on your land, the first thing you have to do is but obviously it's like one of these overambitious, ridiculous statist rules that they don't know where all the trees are. They've declared that they're all a protected species, but they don't know where they are. Same as the skunks. So you have to, the first stage of your development application to the council, oi mate, have you got a license for that building? Your first stage of that is to supply them with a plan of the land with every tree that exists on that land marked on it so that they can protect it. So I used to run a business and we acquired some land and wanted to develop it. I had to submit such a plan. And do you know what happened, Monica? Or Matthew? No. What happened was this. The gypsies came and stole all the trees the night before I did the plan.
Oh, wow.
Can you believe that?
Those bastards.
What a bit of bad luck that was. When I went out with my pen and pencil and paper to draw out on the plan,
they were just bloody stumps.
They'd all gone. Yeah,
that's crazy.
They were all stacked neatly in somebody's woodshed.
So they can't be tagged in the blockchain? Aren't they getting tagged in the blockchain? Isn't that the next step? Matt, do you listen to Ian Davis? Do you know who Ian Davis is? He's like colleague of Johnny.
I've seen him speaking to you once or twice.
But he also contributes to Unlimited Hangout. So I'm sure Johnny and he are colleagues virtually in any case. But the next show I want to do with him is about, and I think the Ice Age Farmer talks about this, Alison McDowell talks about this, that they want to put like every living thing, even like, the tomato you take out of the grocery, which already has like a little barcode, is on the blockchain. Every single thing is in
they had that
surveillance.
I was in like food manufacturing and they had everything had to be traceable. And with hindsight, you can see that's what it's about.
And they said it was because of disease, right? Which is a great...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Did you see that clip of Benjamin Netanyahu going around today where he admitted to Israel being the COVID lab for Pfizer?
No
There's
way.
A 2-minute clip where he just says, "Yeah, well, we agreed to let them build the database and see what would happen with the reactions and everything." It's incredible.
So they're a pathocracy too. I thought that they were one of the few countries that actually governed their own people, like as if they were
I
fulfilling the mandate. Huh?
I won't hear a bad word against Israel. Let me tell you that.
I've seen you've had Ryan Dawson on a couple of times, and I was just okay.
Yeah.
See, because you've got Scott, your beard. You can say whatever you want. Scott's the worst. Scott's in power. That's why I'm going to learn about the Vatican, so I can talk smack all day long about the Black Pope and the Jesuits, and nobody can call me anti-Catholic. Not that anti-Catholic is something anyone would ever call you.
Scott is no longer a beard because he's now denies being a member of that group.
Has he converted, or is he just?
No, he hasn't converted. He's just disowned it completely.
So it's kind of like the way you assume the history homo identity. Now you're the history Gentiles.
Pretty much. I mean, I don't know how it's going to work out. I think it's bad for the show, but the guy's got his own identity. It's only his own business. I've never said anything to him about it.
Interesting. Well, he should keep the beard if he wants to continue to speak the way he does.
I'm worse than him now, to be honest.
There was one story in the news today I wanted to get y'all's opinion on. Did you see this thing about the woman who went to Radio City? Like, there was a big Christmas show at Radio City Music Hall in the city of New York. I used to go to it as a kid, the Rockettes, like, na, 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 na. And she brought her Girl Scout troop there. She's a, cub mom or whatever. And as she went through security, they told her that they could tell by her face who she was and that she worked at a law firm. She wasn't even a lawyer, a law firm that has a case pending against Radio City, and she was not allowed to enter the building. So she had to send the little girls in to watch the show, and she had to sit outside, and they're saying that's totally justifiable. She said they knew her name and everything before they asked her name, which happened to me when I was coming back from England. The passport control asked me my name before they saw my passport.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, wow. And my kids too, So anyway, but they escorted her out because her facial recognition said that she was involved in a lawsuit against Radio City.
Sorry, guys, just jumping in. Is everything working at my end again?
Yeah, you sound great.
We can see you, brother.
You can just come and go. We're gonna.
I'm at my fifth location now, but I'm also on my second beer, so we'll see how it goes.
I told you don't start early.
I know,
rookie.
I'm new round here. May I call you Parallel, or shall I call you Mr. Mike?
You can call me P Mike if you like. Yeah, nice to meet you, Jordan. I'm a huge fan. You've changed a lot for me over the years.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh.
I interviewed the Naked Gardener the other day, and I was like, do I call you naked? Are you naked?
Oh, I'm a huge fan of OBDM. He's awesome.
Yeah, Midnight Mike. He was on the show.
Anyway,
I mean, if you, I don't want to steal your listeners or anything, but they might enjoy our show. And we regularly have a mutual friend of ours and Monica's on, the Great Legal Man.
Oh, and, yeah, he's humorous.
We always address him as Mr. Man. Mr. Man.
I reckon there's a good chance Johnny's burned his milk by now.
Yeah. Did he have to tend to kids? Did I misread that?
Yeah, I think his partner was picking him up or something. Not sure.
I left my kids with a couple that I'm friendly with in the pub.
That worked out well for David Cameron, didn't it? So why not?
I don't know. I don't follow English.
But not so much Meghan McCann.
Oh.
I haven't watched the news since 2016.
Really?
No, I just don't. Everything that I know about from current events is kind of filtered to me through a combination of t.me/History Homos chat, which is our Telegram chat, and which is full of like
a lot of flat earth.
I mean, they listen. They're like me on that issue. They like flat Earth. They think it's amusing, and they like flat Earth people. But they're not flat Earth people.
Yes, that's the MAGA. My feeling about MAGA.
Yeah,
Trump
exactly.
Is fake,
like, there's no point arguing. Yeah, there's no point arguing with them. They're great people. Flat Earth people.
Totally. They're the freest thinkers, to the point where I was warned once, like, watch how open your mind is, Monica, because your brain will just fall out. But I'm not saying that about flat earthers. I just feel like they're very open-minded, and I'd much rather have a flat earther than a vax Nazi.
11th booster guy.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I heard an ad on the radio, Fox News the other day. If it's been more than 60 days since your last shot, I was like, 60 days? If you're getting like 6 a year, how can that? Is there any room for your own DNA?
The great thing is that shows that they've completely given up on people like us, because
yes,
I don't have to go and get my first injection, my second injection, and then my first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth boosters. I just have to get the latest booster, and then I'm up to date. All that this is the really sad, and the one thing that I generally, I like to think I'm a good guy, but I have been known to kind of take satisfaction in people being wrong, but I don't about this. This is so sad, because the people who were really into it are the people who've been hit hardest.
Yeah.
And so in England, as you know, Matthew, I don't know about you, Mr. Mike, whether you were whether you're in England
parallel to you.
Parallel, just when they're on a first name basis.
I don't know if it's but I mean, I've got people who are dear to me who got jabbed so that they could go out to nightclubs, and it never made any difference on whether or not they could go out to nightclubs, but they did it anyway. It's like they got nothing for it. Nothing. They had this massive you kind of just it was the definition of a psyop to make them think that they had to do that to get a benefit, and they never got a benefit. Nobody got to go. The only thing you did get was get to be able to go to the USA, as it turns out. But I can go anywhere now except the USA without even taking a test.
You can't come to the US without
no foreigners without a jab.
That's so messed up, because who are they protecting me against? How are they protecting my neighbor from me?
They're protecting Pfizer against market conditions. That's what they're protecting.
Yeah. So we've got good news. Johnny is sitting here in the studio, so let's bring him in.
We're away.
How does 5 work? Let's see.
Oh, can you say that stuff that I just said on YouTube now?
Probably.
Live is a little easier.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, there you go.
Live from Chile with Klaus Schwab's unofficial biographer. And the man Jeremy Vine likes to DM for some reason.
It's Woo! Jeremy Vine's best friend! Yeah!
I'm
Tell me about
that
slimy prick.
Yeah, I know. Ain't it so? Hello, I bought my... Have you showed off your cocktails yet? I missed out.
Not yet.
Oh, right, okay, I'll put mine away, but... It's getting cold, I'll just put it over there. Yeah. Everything went wrong. As soon as Whitney was going to pick up the kids, the internet went off, and it's her phone that has the best internet. So I was just waiting on the gods of the internet.
Oh, the gods of the internet!
Oh my gosh!
Knock him down.
Is it time for me to go get my cocktail of the hour? Like, that was just my prelim. Should I go get the real one?
Yeah, but I think we should just admire the way Johnny's frozen.
I think I've ever seen
perfect.
That is perfect.
He needs to save that as his placeholder picture.
You go get your drink, Monica, and I'll provide the blather. You
okay.
When you come back, I've got to go and see a man about a dog.
I was going to ask you, William, what do you look for in a Klaus Schwab cocktail? What will you be looking for?
Klaus Schwab cocktail. Well, he's kind of like I don't know. It's got to be a dry martini, isn't it? Really, because he's the Bond villain, and I reckon. I mean, he literally dresses as a Bond villain. And I hate James Bond films, by the way. My favorite Bond is Roger Moore because he treated it with absolutely no respect whatsoever. He just went, "Yeah, I'm Roger Moore. I'm going to just be funny and make people like me," and it was great. Even Sean Connery, you could say, from the author's point of view, did a better job of portraying the character than anybody else, and I get that. But my point is, the character was shit. Roger Moore did it real justice by playing it like an idiot. But if you want a Cold War spy hero, it's Harry Brown.
I do enjoy those movies. They're good. The Michael Caine things.
Yeah, excellent, aren't they?
Yeah.
I've only just realised that they made that they used that name for that sort of recent movie of his that was also very good about being ex something or other living in London as shit as it is now.
Oh, the one where the old bloke batters the Neds.
Yeah,
that's it. Plan B with Plan B in it.
Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plan B. That's what Americans call the morning after pill, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, they do.
Plan B is really Plan C because Plan B is Greek style.
I don't know what that means, but it's probably involving yogurt. It's got to be involving yogurt of some sort.
What? Just throw a yogurt at the end and say it's finished.
It's basically, it does involve yogurt. You have to park the yogurt truck round the back.
That's a euphemism, if I've ever heard one. Yeah. Yeah. How's it going then?
Good Lord. You need to see the way you froze a minute ago. It was perfect.
Yeah, I bet it was probably as I was screaming at the internet gods, yeah?
Yeah.
And then internet gods smoked me good. It couldn't be any perfect. I've been on the internet talking with people all day, not one problem. Just literally, I sit down here, I press a button, and it all goes off. That's the way it works. It's Christmas. We're relying on Disney movies at Christmas. I'm sure most parents are. So there better be good internet. That's all I can say. How's it going, gang?
All good, yeah. You?
Yeah, you know.
What did I miss?
How's
What
your
drink
internet over there in Chile, Johnny? Do you manage to get good signals out there? Because over here in Poland, it's shit.
Yeah, 50-50. It's a bit hard. Chile is a big country, and I think they've got to irradiate masses of it if they want good internet signal or telephone signal. But it's like all of the places. It seems like it's indistinguishable from magic for me. It's like, you know, you can talk with people. I can talk with people online. I'm in the middle of Chile somewhere. It's just crazy. So whatever internet we get is pretty good by me. It's like, but we're moving to a new place soon, and that'll be a little bit of a tester. I think we may have to invest in some sort of weird satellite internet if we want internet where we're going.
I think that's where we're going over here. We're onto the gadget stage. Satellites outside the house.
Yeah.
Elon's got you covered with the satellites, though.
Oh.
Yeah, we've got really dark skies, and I get to see his hot air balloons going across all the time. So
They take off in front of my house. Like you see the rockets. That's how I know that the Earth is a globe, because you see it pull away. Like,
are you sure about that?
I'm sure about it.
I was going there already.
But I'm open. You know, I love the flat Earth. I think the flat Earth thing is a metaphor for people who don't move from the internet to the metaverse.
Yeah, maybe.
That's the archetype they're trying to create.
I met a crazy flat earther who I knew for a while, who was just one of the most weirdest men. He was a drug dealer who was both wonderful and terrible, and he was Mexican, and he was living in Wales. And he was telling me all of these wonderful stories about how he moved across the world moving drugs around. And he seemed like he was legit. I mean, he was legit, had lots of experience, came from this weird rich family and stuff. But he completely and utterly believed the world was flat. There was no, pushing him on that. He was sure about it. He says, I've seen things, man. I've seen things. I know the earth is flat. I've seen it for myself. And, it's always the excuse. Go try going up to the North Pole and seeing if you get that far, All right. I'll do it now.
But a world traveler, he should know. Like, if you go around, I took a plane like from New York to Indonesia through Frankfurt, and then I went home via Japan. Like it was like very clear that I was going in the same direction. I ended up where I started, but
yeah,
I don't know. I know that sounds very. I like I'm a Fed. A globe earther.
Flat Earth. I've said this before on this show 5 minutes ago, but Flat Earth people are the best people in the world, and I love them, and I don't want to contradict them at all. But I studied navigation when I was a kid. Like, they've had to totally retcon everything that's observable in real life to make the Earth seem flat. And like, you show me a flat droplet of water, you know, it's like it's just.
See, but you're a chemtrail denier, so you lose a little credibility on that.
What? We got a chemtrail denier?
Yeah.
This is a type of place where those people are ludicrous! You're ludicrous and you amusing people. Simple, I'd say.
Listen, I don't deny that they're spraying us with stuff by any means, but what I do deny is that commercial aircraft are doing it, because I used to refuel the fucking things, and there's nowhere to put anything in them.
Yeah.
For it to come out of them.
Yeah, but I think there's repurposed ex-commercial airlines that may be used for such jobs. Also, that's the only thing I would put forward.
I have a conversation to finish off with Monica about this as well. Because I sent Monica a still from the Italian job, where, you know, when the bus is dangling over the cliff, there's a contrail. So it's like, what is it, 1968 or something that came out?
69.
Yeah.
It's my favourite movie.
Dinner for two.
Really? Really?
You can see him rubbing his nipple as he says that. Yeah.
It is a great movie. I honestly think, right, okay, I'm going to diverge here. Michael Caine is the English Clint Eastwood, because I'm saying this because obviously he's not a movie producer like Clint is. Clint is better than Michael Caine, okay, but I'm saying culturally, Michael Caine is the English Clint Eastwood because he embodies that no-nonsense English sort of characteristic that they're trying so hard to stamp out, in the same way that Clint Eastwood does the American equivalent. Right? He is it is Harry Brown, isn't it? The guy in the spy movies. That guy, the guy in Zulu. Every character he plays is that working class English guy.
Quintessential.
He takes no shit. He's funny. Like, he doesn't care whether he lives or dies. He's like, whatever. My name is Michael
Harry
Caine.
Palmer.
Harry Palmer.
So what's the point? What's your point, William?
Well, I was diverging onto.
Bridge to nowhere.
You know, I think I've got a contender that takes out Michael Caine, though. I always thought Ollie Reed was my man. Ollie Reed was the quintessential Brit.
A bit too degenerate, though.
Like, yeah, that's what I think about him. You know, a man that you could sit and have a good beer with.
Sure,
I don't think I could sit and have a beer with Michael Caine. I think he'd kick me out the room.
I would say Oliver Reed was the analog for Marlon Brando, rather than Clint Eastwood. He's the guy that's going to have missionary sex with Richard Pryor.
I was going to say, it turned out that Marlon Brando was, you know.
That's like a conspiracy. Yeah. Sorry.
Listen,
I call conspiracy on you.
Our latest episode at rockfin.com/historyhomos is a detailed analysis of Heart of Darkness by the greatest ever English author, Paul Joseph Conrad. I think that when Marlon Brando's going, the horror, he's just, in order to be able to produce that performance, he just had to recollect that sunlit evening on a California beach with Richard Pryor.
There's a lot to take in there.
Yeah, that's
Staring into,
a little insight.
staring into each other's eyes, grabbing hold of
okay.
their back hair.
Slow down.
Does everyone have their cocktails ready?
Wait a minute! Is Pryor on fire during this dream sequence?
No.
Okay,
it really happened. They made sweet, sweet love to it.
Yeah, that's probably what set Pryor on fire. I mean, that's the sort of hot love would do that to her. Would do that to a man.
He probably enjoyed it at the time on a level, but you can see it when he's in some like 30th hotel room. Like, it could be the callback, the recollection of that incident that made him set himself on fire, because those guys have Christian values, don't they? Those guys from that particular group are on our side. This is why there's so much, all this BLM stuff and that is meant to oppose guys like us to guys like them. When we're the same guys.
Oh no, you're gonna like my cocktail way too much. It's really racy. I mean, racist maybe. I don't know. One of the two.
Let's hear it. What takes boiling?
No.
What?
Well, wait. Brown oppression. That's what takes boiled milk. Brown oppression. There you go. Someone else should go first.
2 seconds. Let me do a intro thing to the competition that I've written out here. So I figured the major thing we all have in common is a belief in the grand conspiracy, which seems to be embodied by the World Economic Forum and its leader, Klaus Schwab. So the challenge I presented to you all was to create a cocktail titled The Klaus Schwab, and I left the interpretation of that entirely up to you. So if everyone's ready, Jordan Peterson there's going to judge them. So, Mike, do you want to go first?
Go on, then I'll do it in character.
Ready to go. Yeah, so I had nightmares about this cocktail, as I told Matthew before the show. I had no idea what I was going to do, and last night I had a nightmare, and Klaus Schwab appeared, and he was sat on a gold throne, and there was all of the world leaders around him, and he looked like you expect him from the videos you saw him, but as soon as he stood up, I realized he was a midget, and he was so tiny, and he started running away. He was late for a flight or something, so I think that was the divine inspiration I needed for the cocktail. So I got some black baby walnut juice. Now, this is from my tree outside. And you can read into the baby. I had to sacrifice the walnut, actually. The baby walnut.
I love those. I call them
There's no walnut trees.
Fetal walnuts. They're Armenian. They're unbelievably delicious in Manhattan.
Yeah, so we got a load of these things outside. So we sacrificed one of them and put it in 95% spirit. And that's what we've got here. So then we pour it into some orange juice. And I think the reason why we chose the baby walnut is because it reminded me of some kind of sacrifice that Klaus Schwab might be into. So we sacrificed it into the orange. And I've never drunk this. And my wife said that if I drink this on YouTube and then drink something fizzy afterward, it's going to blow my mind. So here we go.
Well, it does count because you drop nuts into a fruit.
It's not bad. So there's mine. It's baby walnut, 95% spirit, and orange juice. That is my Klaus Schwab cocktail.
Is that going to make you blind?
I don't know. We'll see.
95%. And what about, does it taste like Christmas spices? Because those fetal walnuts taste like Christmas spices.
Apparently, there's something called cloves in there, which I'm not. Those are delicious.
Like cloven hoof? Are they cloven hooves you have in there?
You know, I was actually thinking about which animals on my farm I would have to sacrifice for this cocktail, but I'm glad it was just a walnut.
It's not walnuts that's going to make Mr. Mike blind.
Good Lord. Johnny, do you want to go?
I'm not sure I do now. Now that I see the competition, I think I might avoid it. No. I'm part winging this. I've got an idea. I roughly know where I want to go. Okay, so this is my Klaus Schwab. I was gonna look for some form of like baby tomatoes along the same theme, but for that I've gone with a cherry, so that you got a cherry on there that represents the poor youngster who will be sacrificed to the elites. Yeah. Down here is the brown suppression, which is mainly chocolate, hot chocolate, of course. And it's on top, of course, is that white suppression, that marshmallowy white suppression that sits on top. That, Aryan, look at it, it's so Aryan. And across the top, it's got the virtuous brown people and the coloured stars of the rainbow flag of the LGBT community. And the reason why it's a Klaus Schwab is because it's got no alcohol in it, so it's a lie. It's all a one big lie.
Well, Johnny, let me give you... I'm going to start giving feedback on these as we go along. Johnny,
no! Oh, no! Oh, no! Oh, no! It's all gone wrong!
You're basically disqualified. Because...
Stop it.
Although, one of my favourite pop groups is Hot Chocolate, and I do believe in miracles. You're not going to win, because... that's got the fucking alcohol in it, brother.
No, it does. It does. It's just, I'm telling you it doesn't. And it might not. So, there you go. That's Klaus Schwab. That's his whole agenda. Everything they tell you is probably a lie.
Oh, right. This is meta. You're expecting me, Jordan Peterson, to understand, like, humanity.
Is that really your Jordan Peterson voice? I did not know Jordan Peterson was from Aberdeen.
It's just a little bit of Donald and Davy Stott.
I'm sorry. I failed.
No, it was good. I enjoyed it. You've maybe been spending too much time in South America, but it's fine. Monica, I know you wanted to go last.
Yeah, you're going next.
I'm going next, right. Okay, here we go. 2 seconds. So, we have got this delicious mixture here. So, this is the Klaus Schwab cocktail. In here we have Jack Daniels to represent American freedoms that Klaus wants to take away. I couldn't find any evidence that Jack Daniels has gone woke or anything, so it seemed to be a good representation.
You could also say that the main ingredient being Jack Daniels involves the main support of American imperialism.
Wow. Maybe. I'm just dying to try it, to be honest. It's mixed here with Advocaat, which is made primarily of eggs, so that represents the idea of population control. As an egg is obviously...
And it's also Dutch. It represents stealing farmland.
Stealing farmland? So obviously an egg is just an unsuccessful chicken, so hence the idea of population control. I actually found out today that this is in itself already a cocktail called the Jack Torrance, named after the character in The Shining. He was a psychopath, so is Klaus Schwab. That's perfect. Anyway, the rest of the ingredients, we've got some, I don't know if the camera can see this, we've got a bit of meat here. Nice bit of meat. You won't be having any of that soon. That's a nice bit of venison that I cooked up earlier, and it's been sitting on the side for a few hours, so it's probably gone right off. So that'll be nice.
So it's going to kill you.
Oh, maybe. Nice little cocktail umbrella. You know, you won't be seeing any holidays, so you won't be seeing any of them for a while. Oh shit, my meat's gone in my drink.
That's what she said.
And that's not even the disgusting bit, and I cannot believe I'm the only one who's done this. But of course, it wouldn't be a Klaus Schwab without a little snack, would it? Presented inside a glass of false hope, we have got
a meaty worm.
Some worms and some bugs.
Yeah, real bugs. I was gonna fake it, but then I felt bad about faking it, so I didn't. I decided not to fake it.
These
Have
are
you
real.
noticed that I never talk about
Wow,
my
wait,
father?
whoa! Oh, yo, gross!
Oh, bring it closer to the camera, would you? Let me see that.
Ew.
Ah!
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy.
What do you
I
think,
love.
Gordon? You approve?
There we go.
I thought what he did for Ben Shapiro was bad.
Psychoanalyze him for us, please.
He's not very well.
He really wanted to win this one.
He's done. He's done good. He's done good. Kid's done good.
Bloody hell. That's awful.
Yeah.
How's the meat?
He's had the sound of bugs there. That's
Wow, how are
Friendly
the
bug.
bugs?
You know they're all right.
Okay.
I
They
could
look
probably
like
get.
the worms in Must
I could
Count.
probably get with his future.
this is propaganda. Clever. They got you early, didn't they?
They got him early, exactly.
Yeah.
WEF.
They funneled us all into their trap. It's just all of the people watching are all CIA and MI5. They're all having their Christmas typical silly conspiracy theorists dance for us. No one else is listening.
They don't even realise the Earth's flat.
I promoted
still
this
chewing.
episode to my Telegram, and they're all feds.
Monica, are you going?
Yeah, sorry, I'll go. I took like your chick way out, and I could not make an evil drink. I could not make a drink called the Klaus Schwab that would taste good, and I can't make a drink that doesn't taste good. I cannot do it. I cannot bring myself to do it. So I made the anti-Klaus. So I was inspired by if Santa Claus.
Jesus.
If Santa Claus killed the Antichrist. What would it take for Santa Claus to kill the Antichrist?
It's
And it's the Anti-Claus,
It's
which
the
is
Klauspus.
it's a Klauspus.
Yeah.
So
Krampus,
it's Christian Brothers apple brandy. So you have like the Christian slaying of the Antichrist, but we kind of deserve it because we did eat the apple. So it's our own fault, really. But
Tasty apple, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was tasty. I enjoy the apple. And so this, I like to call this Angel Tears. This is very high proof. It's 55% by volume. Not as high as Mr. Mike, but quite high. It is made by Carthusian monks in Grenoble, France.
I've been there.
It was made from the same recipe since 1605. I'm sure that has some some mystical property. 130 alpine herbs, and the secret method of preparation is shared by 3 Carthusian brothers, protected by their vows of silence. So
Yeah,
they
wank in it. They wank in it.
Oh, thanks.
Sorry.
It's okay. I'm trying to help you with this. Okay. So it goes also with a little fresh lemon juice for cleanliness, a little simple syrup for, just the sweetness of the cure, and then a few dashes of Angostura bitters for the bitter tears shed by so many at the hands of Klaus. So here is your anti-Klaus, and it will solve all of your worms and your oppressive drinks and your fetal walnuts. And even you,
Mike,
Jordan, you have to.
I think if you went and flew yourself to Switzerland and found Mr. Klaus and threw that over him, he'd burst into flames and it would solve all the problems.
He would disintegrate like the Wicked Witch of the West. I'm melting.
So I'm now gonna do the judging, and I'm gonna say, I think you all did very well.
John won. Johnny won. Johnny did really well, and Johnny should win.
But listen, you cannot compel my speech unless it's to promote Zionism. And
don't tickle me there.
I'm going to start
I
with
got Theo
Matthew.
banned.
Matthew, I thought your drink was lovely. It was.
You haven't drank it, mate.
It seemed refreshing, and there was a lot of creativity went into the formulation. Now, Johnny, yours. Listen, I thought there was a lot of effort that went into it, and I appreciate that, but it had no alcohol in it, and also milk's a puff drink. Now, Mr. Mike, your drink was almost my favourite because I like walnuts. And I admire the simplicity of it, and it can be drunk in a short shot. So you did extremely well. You get the second place highly commended prize. But Monica wins basically. Well, she would have won anyway because she's Monica and I love her. But also
sexist agenda.
I don't even qualify. I should be disqualified.
She's not going to shag him, mate.
Any contest I'm judging, you win.
Right, I know. That's the thing. I don't even qualify. I should be disqualified. That's sexism right there.
Exactly.
Congratulations,
You
Monica.
cannot compel my speech.
Thank you. Obviously, it's actually quite delicious. It's totally delicious. It tastes like, apples.
Well,
I'm gonna be a little blitzkrieg because I brought the bottles with me, so we're just gonna keep serving it up.
I'm going to town on these bugs now. These are delicious.
Are they really? That's messed up. But
secret, they're actually chocolate coated.
Oh, they look like
they should be chocolate. Yeah. They looked alive. But Mike,
they're not alive. No,
walnuts,
they're not alive. Oh.
If you put those walnuts, if you put fetal walnuts in a jar and just fill it up with simple syrup,
you'll make a baby.
Yes, you'll have little baby walnuts that you can put in your Manhattans, but it tastes like Christmas spices. You would think that you loaded it up with cinnamon and stuff, and you don't. You're lucky that you have them.
We've got a big tree, Monica, right outside the window.
Yeah, just do it as an experiment.
And my wife does it. She makes a lot of walnut recipes from those things, but I'm just the guy who drinks the 95% proof alcohol.
What latitude do you live at, Mr. Mike, to have a walnut tree outside your window?
We're living in northern Poland.
All right, I love Poland.
So it's
a shame they've started
from Jordan.
Where am I from?
No, I'm from where you are, Yorkshire.
I happen. Polish people are such a likable kind of people, but I wish they'd stop starting world wars.
I gotta roll this back for a second. Didn't the entire government of Poland go down in a plane that then, like, some finishers came and just put bullets in everybody's head? Did you ever see that video?
This is the great Polish conspiracy. So they had a massive, they had a flight that was full of all the top military and political brass. And there's two twins who were running the show over here. So there was the Kaczynski twins. One of them was on the plane and one of them was not. And it was flying across to Russia. And somehow the plane got lost in the fog and it went down with all of the top military brass and politicians. And there is the conspiracy that when they went down, there was a video that surfaced of Russian special forces putting bullets in the remainders. Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but the guy who remained, basically the other twin, he is now like literally the guy in power. Well, he's not officially the guy in power, but he's basically run Poland for many, many years. He's still the most influential politician. So I don't know the full story, but it's spoke about a lot over here.
I saw the video. It was totally chilling. They were speaking Russian. It didn't really show anything. Like, it could have been totally made up. But boy, having that idea in your head while you watch it, like, makes your hair stand up. But it's too suspicious to have everybody in one plane. Like, that's just not done.
You know what? Has anyone here ever asked themselves the question, why have they never said we need to put CCTV in planes? You know, after 9/11 and after all these.
Listen, I'm a truck driver, and like if there's an incident, my employers can go through the CCTV on my truck and see exactly what happened.
See how many times you masturbated on one journey.
I don't work for it.
You might be too old for that.
They don't have a. I am too old for that. And also, they don't have. I wouldn't work at a place where they have cameras on the inside of the truck, but they know what's going on the outside.
But at least in the cabin, right, Jordan? You think that they'd put them in the cabin?
Oh, hey, yes. In case there's any anti-Semitism going on and people being anonymous, we can't have truck drivers being anonymous. They're a scam. I want to compel their speech. They have to say, "I love Benjamin Netanyahu." 5 minutes.
When was this plane crash?
When was it?
You just go too far.
Obviously, we had Donald Tusk who led the EU. It was when he was, I think it was when he was in the leadership race for Prime Minister of Poland, or he was the Prime Minister. So we're talking like the 2010. Yeah, maybe late 2000, so 2009, 2008, sometime around there, I think, but I can't remember.
2010. I thought it was longer ago.
So listen, I've got to go, guys, soon. Thank you for having me.
You want to blow
really
up Matthew's YouTube channel first? Could you just give us a stream of totally unacceptable epithets?
I've only made innuendos.
Jamming.
I've only innuendoed. But I just want to say, check out History Homos podcast. It's rockfin, rokfin.com/historyhomos. And, we just take it as it comes. We're not ideologues about anything, but just imagine. Do you remember Ted Kaczynski said, imagine a society in which conditions are so stressful that people have to be medicated in order to tolerate them. In that society, people become an engineered product. Now, we've been in that society for a long time, and they're trying to just put the finishing touches on it right now. But let me put this to you. It's completely hypothetical. There's no analog in the real world. But imagine you live, let's say, you're English, okay? Because I guess most of the viewers of this are English. Ooh. Let's say you're English. And let's say in about 1948 or around that time, sometime after the Second World War, England got occupied, and your teenage sons can't go outside without getting shot in the bollocks by a sniper. How does that feel? So, on that note, I'll bid you a Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Bye, William.
Thanks, William. See you later.
No. I don't know how to leave.
Well, Matthew will kick you out.
You have to throw me out. Throw me out.
Bye, Jordan.
Just back, yeah. So what about Uncle Ted? What about Uncle Ted? Does everybody vibe on Ted Kaczynski? I think he's great, but except for the killing people, not a fan.
There's only one Unabomber, baby.
But I thought it was weird that I was served. I never read Kaczynski before, and it was just served up to me in February 2020. I didn't even remember ordering the book. It appeared on my doorstep from Amazon. It had been on like the A&E network or whatever, like some biopic of him, and somehow like right before COVID lockdown, before it was like shit. I can't say it again.
It just ended up at the house.
Well, I definitely did order it in some kind of fugue state, but I wasn't drinking or anything. I was at the time.
In my baby walnut cocktail.
Maybe that was it. But 2 years ago, I was still of the mindset like, I would not have ordered that on Amazon if I really thought about it. Been like, I don't think I want to get Kaczynski delivered to my door. And it totally woke me up to the fact that they were going to shut down the means of production and I would have no way to eat. And I was ready for that because Kaczynski had been fed to me by the mainstream media. That's the only thing I have against it, except for the killing part, which was bad.
I don't think Kaczynski nailed it in terms of his views on technology. Like, for sure, like he could see where the logical conclusion of just having technology infused with our life would go, because it makes it so easy to create a totalitarian world. But everyone, I'm sat on this damn device now, you're all sat on devices, we're all being listened in on. So yeah, he got that right, but he was pretty nuts. He was pretty crazy as well.
I liked his cabin in the woods.
Yeah, and they don't let him
live in one of them.
Yeah, he did. And did you have no electricity?
I can't even imagine that stuff, man. We're building a place out here in the woods in Chile, little hut, just two rooms in there. We're gonna rock backwards and forwards. No, it's a much nicer place, much better. But I can't even imagine. I mean, living like that, that's dedication. And he was the extreme of the argument, wasn't he? In human form, he was like so far removed. He had the ability to walk the path that he spoke, and that I think may have been signs of also a mental illness. I guess he
was an MK Ultra guy, a victim of
yeah.
No kids, but why Chile? Why is Chile the
yeah, I tell you what, the seasons out here are amazing. The like summertime is just hot sun, nice rainy day, hot sun, nice rainy day, hot sun, nice rainy day, hot sun. Just everything grows, and really quickly as well. It's like everything grows at a high speed. It's far enough away. People think, you know, they got this idea of South America that it's a badass place, and some parts of it are. You know, I went up to the desert lands of North Chile recently. I went up to Arica, which is like this run-down old beach resort. Everything's like broken down around there, and it's like miserable. The people are all on drugs, hanging out in doorways. The majority of people live in these like sort of temporary illegal settlements on the hillsides of this desert land where there's just nothing going on. No tourism is coming back. There used to be fantastic for things like that, but nothing like that's coming back. So there are places like that, but most of the people outside think it's like this terrible Wild West Mexican sort of like old style Mexican stereotypes that was fed to you. So a lot of people don't realize how nice and calm and relaxed Chile is. It hasn't got any big beasts or poisonous stuff, you know. It's surrounded by mountains, so it had its own evolution. There's no big creatures hanging around, you know. There's no wolves, there's no monkeys or anything like that, you know. It hasn't got that sort of stuff, but it's got penguins. I've
been to Chile and I saw the penguins.
Podos, which are these tiny little deer that are like the smallest little creature that you can see running around. It's just and fantastic birds. It's got everything. It's got desert. It's got beach. It's got glaciers. It's got like, you know, beautiful lakes. We live by volcanoes, so all around where we live is like you go from one town to another town, and it's all a beautiful steaming volcano at the start of every town. It's just such like you get such visual, like amazing visual like moments in Chile. Beautiful.
And so in Chile, Johnny, and not one of the many other Latin American countries, or Southern American countries?
Well, I didn't really get too much of a choice. I fell in love with a girl who's down this way, and she's you know, and once you experience down here, like, okay, that's a cool way of life. It's a cool chilled. The Chilean people are they're weird. They're like apart from Mexicans, they're like the chubbiest of the Latin American people. They're very round people. They eat a lot of meat and they eat a lot of papa fritas, and you know they're very all drive around in big trucks. It feels very much like the essence of some places like Texas and stuff. You know it's but it's just chill down here. It's so much nicer than it is. God, when I go up to Britain and I see what's becoming of it, it's hard. We're not seeing just one generation's worth of damage. We're seeing like a concerted effort over like 3 generations to destroy culture within society, but within every tribe, every like white people are just suddenly this homogenous block, and we don't have any history to us apart from the fact that we were once oppressors. And yet I know all of these people from all over Britain who all, if they had a look at where they really what people they really belong to, they belong to these small tribes that are still dotted in the same places that they were 1,500 years ago. It's really interesting. Like around Leeds, the people of Leeds, if you test their genetics, it's different than the people in the southeast. The people in the southeast are basically French. The people up in Leeds are the people in the Elmet. They're a certain tribe where you got the Humbers, North Humbers, you got the Lanks, you've got the Pict people, you've got 5 different tribes of Wales. It's so many really, really interesting things about Britain that we don't enjoy, we don't embrace anymore, because we're all too busy saying, oh, you know, we're all white people who have oppressed a load of black people. And in actual fact, the majority of people who have met black people who are white would be like, oh God, hello, how are you? You all right? Yes. Like, especially in Britain, you know, everybody's very polite. I come from Wales. You had racism. Don't get me wrong. That was a thing of the time. It was on everything, movies, TV, in music. It was everywhere. It was like the feeling, the vibe, the culture. It makes it like that. But we've kind of done a lot of struggling to get balance, and now we're in a situation where there is no balance. It's all of it's a really strange thing, because it sounds like white people crying, but for me, I feel like someone from Wales, and I feel that Welsh national sort of nationality isn't embraced anymore. It's becoming a stereotype that's being put up on a shelf like Christmas cards, brought out once a year, and is losing its essence. Same
Here
everywhere.
we have something similar in that I think they completely ginned up any kind of white anything here. It was, are you from New York? It was regional. So New Yorkers, like even like rappers from all over the world, talk like they're from Brooklyn. Like there's an accent, there's a bond. Brooklyn and the Bronx were totally at odds with each other. Like they had to make Bugs Bunny a combination of Brooklyn and the Bronx because there was so much rivalry. And when I moved up, like my family moved up to the suburbs of the city, it was on the other side of the Bronx from Brooklyn. And so we were just like, you guys are lumberjacks and hayseeds, you know, but these people from the Bronx, we were like, you're not even from the city. There is no grass in the Bronx. Like, I don't know how I could think it was not even a city, but there was so much like culture in such a tiny amount of space. And that's,
you know, about the experiments done, you know, someone always starts with this, you know, about the Milgram experiments and stuff, and all this experiments. Well, you got those experiments that were about the tribe fighting, and loads of tribes were fighting. It turned out that when it turned into a free-for-all, it was people who were basically from the same bloodlines and same genetics distantly were all siding up with each other. And there is an element of that. If you push everybody into megacities, eventually over time people find the people who are most like their people, and they divide up into their little areas. It's a really human thing. It's a part of the developing culture, and it's what the people at the top, the Klaus Schwabs and the globalists, want to get rid of. They want to homogenize everything, get rid of all of that. If you have a city like New York, you've got like all these really diverse places. People are proud to be from a certain part of New York. I'm from Queens, you know. It's like you've got people who are really, really like over the top about it, and it seems like from the outside, oh well, they don't have history. But what do we know about in Britain? Even what do we know about our history? All we know is that when we look at someone, we feel connected with them, or we don't feel connected with them. And if you feel connected with someone quicker, that helps you develop deeper relationships that last over time. If you don't necessarily connect with someone, and it may be just based on a visual thing, it can be just based on visual. Your brain says yes, your brain says no, you know. And what we got to do is learn, of course, to be nice people. Just that's the essence that we need on top of everything. That's what you need to spray everything is. Be nice people. Don't be a racist arsehole. But we got to accept that people like to be with their own people. They feel more comfortable. Now, who your own people are anymore, do people know? And it changes over time.
Because with tribalism, I mean, if you look back to any situation where you force humans into an intense situation, the first thing that they always do, I mean, my dad was in prison. And he told me about what life was like. It was that he said the first thing that happens when you go to prison is people go off into little tribes, you know. And you see it all in the movies. You know, there's the Mexicans, there's the blacks, there's the whites, blah blah blah. That is exactly what life is like. And if you can't do it on skin color, then they do it on another thing. So if you look like in Liverpool, they used to have like literally two sides of the road. Like, I'm on this side, you're on that side. I'm going to shoot you. You know what I mean? Like, that is exactly what it's like. It's this tribalism. So it's definitely ingrained with us. You know, it's definitely encoded within us. And what we're trying to do as a global community is to transcend that, you know, to actually see the person, see the individual. But we will always have this genetic trigger You know what I mean? That's not. You're not going to change that. It's like the edge for sex.
So is it about embracing that trigger or denying that trigger? Because I argue that if you deny that trigger, you're going to end up being sad automatically. It's like you cannot deny something. Your expression, what manifests from your life will be more positive if you embrace the simple.
Well, that's probably part of it, Johnny. I think is that when they lay it out to people and they say, right, you've got this hidden racism, then someone's going to sit there and think, oh yeah, I do feel more at ease around somebody who looks like me. You know, I do feel more at ease around somebody that's X, Y, or Z, and therefore it kind of reinforces that narrative that if you feel at some point more comfortable with somebody who's from your region or your look or skin color or whatever it is, that you're a secret racist. And I think that is exactly the narrative. Whereas what you're saying is it's just acknowledging, like, oh yeah, we're strange creatures. You know what I mean? We've got all of these things that get passed on generation to generation.
I remember growing up, and that feeling, any kind of feeling like that, was actively eradicated. And as a young, educated person, I made sure that I never validated any feeling like that, any hint like that. I would root it out. Like, no, should I, like, why am I not attracted to, like, guys who look like that? Well, I should get over that because that's probably rooted in some kind of racism or whatever. And I do think that you want to mate with people who look like you so that your kids look like you. Like, I think that's like a very, very primal thing to want. But I feel like it was rooted out. So when I saw the whole like racism, white supremacy stuff being given a lot of airtime here, it was just simply not credible to me. Like, I did not know anyone who ever indulged thoughts like that. My brother is a truck driver. He would go into the most remote, my dad was too, most remote places. I used to truck with them, and it was just very rare to find something like that. And, to the point where people would organize or make that their like to identify, to have their self-image related to a racial identity was something I just didn't experience. So I don't even believe, I think it was first the tribalism stuff had to be reintroduced and weaponized, just like everything else, just like so much like democracy and all the processes that actually did kind of settle down, and people like, all right, we'll accept this, this society where we don't all agree, and there are a lot of different things. And when you have a political problem, like the process will save us, they made sure the process stopped working. They reintroduced these pathologies so that, or whether they are or not, but they reintroduced problems like that so that they could justify taking it out, which was a Karl Popper, George Soros thing from the London School of Economics. Like it was the open society, obviously.
But I mean, now they took it to this stage where they're actually saying to, like, for example, they'll say to lesbian females, oh, you must see a transsexual man, transsexual woman, should I say, who's now a female, the same way. And if you don't find them attractive, then you have an ism. And that is what they're doing. And it's like turning people's minds inside out so that people just feel completely disorientated, like they can't trust themselves. And that's what I always say to my wife is they're trying to make it so people do not trust a single thing that they think about themselves or their lives or outside of that in terms of the media or government or anything. It's this complete disorientation so they can just shuffle us into their agendas.
I think this conversation's proven quite nicely one of the questions I was going to pose to you all, and that given our personalities and what we're all speaking about here, do you think that makes us really difficult to buy Christmas presents for? Because, I mean, or maybe it's really easy, depending on your partner or your family. Like Mike, I seen on Twitter your partner's getting you a Javelin missile.
Yeah, you can pick them up for about 30k over here now. They're all over the place.
Yeah, man. I'm easy. I'm Ferrero Rocher, man. You get me Ferrero Rocher, I'll be your friend for life. That's it. Just do it. Hurry up and do it. We'll have a relationship, Matt. I'll sleep in your bed. I can't promise anything, but you give me Ferrero Rocher, I can promise something. I don't know.
Do you get Whitney to deliver it like they used to on the advert, where she has to swoop in through the window while you're asleep and leave it on the table?
No. She got to give it to me and then leave. Leave me alone with a Ferrero Rocher, and I'll eat it all myself. Yeah, no. I listen. There's nothing different about us conspiracy types. You know, we're all pretty normal people. We all do the same things. We're all fine.
I had you down as maybe asking for like a signed pair of Henry Kissinger's glasses or a framed Lolita Express flight log or something like that. You know, just
yeah. You can imagine one day, me and Whitney could have like a chamber, a gallery of evil, a black museum of our own, hidden at the back of the storeroom.
Like that episode of Father Ted with all the Nazi stuff.
Yeah. Well, it'll probably end up, if it's Kissinger, it's basically Nazi stuff anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. I think I asked you that in a roundabout way previously. Like, what do you and Whitney generally chat about? You know, like if you're just sitting around the table, is it just non-stop, or do you ever switch off?
Yeah. Well, she's very good at saying no. I'm switching off now, so there's no point. But most of the time we're just. I mean, you can't help it. Something happens, and then something else happens, and you say something. But we've got like 2 kids, so like that's running around. We just had a 5-year-old birthday party. It's nuts, you know. Less hard life. We don't get much time to chatter most of the time. We're just like doing the things, being woken up by baby man, little man, and stuff. You know, the normal everyday family things. So, but man, if you talk to her about stuff, she could go really deep and really quickly into something that'll lead you somewhere else. I've written 5 articles that are going to be coming out in the next sort of month. I want them to come out in the next month. I hope they do. It's weird. One of them, the last of them, is tackling a subject from like the 1950s and 1960s, and I have to get ahead of the story. I'm telling a story from that far back, and there's a story that's going to break soon in January, February that I want this to be out to because it's really important for. So I'm past stories that you have to get ahead of the story on. We do a lot of talking about the sort of like agenda, of course. We can't help it.
I would love to offer you, Johnny, a platform to talk about those things on my show, and I can attest that I don't think it ever turns off in your house, because when you sent us a video of you and your puppy, there was a Joe Biden speech playing in the background. If I were in Chile with my kids, my wife, my dogs, I'd be listening to Joe Biden speeches.
I'm not sure that could be classed as a speech necessarily.
Yes. It did sound quite disjointed and irrational, but it felt like background music. This guy is really living it.
What do you ask for, Monica, for Christmas? Is it more rare books to cram onto the shelf?
Oh my gosh, I have so many books. It's like a sickness. I look in the Amazon and I just wrote book. I wanted to see a recent book I bought, so I went to the orders and I wrote book, and it came out with 1,200 hits on my orders. I had bought 1,200 books. So, and my husband gets in the habit of like going to my wish list on Amazon, and that's what he gets me for Christmas. But it goes way. I have so many books; they're overwhelming. But I think it's funny, like what I get the people in my house, which is like, I got my husband like dancing bear sweatpants and a smoking jacket. I just feel like in order to live with, the truthy, you have to just totally like think it's funny. I'll be telling my son like, oh, and then this is what happened. And Klaus, like, you listen to Johnny Vedmore, like Klaus, blah, blah, blah. And my husband will walk in, he'll just be like, Klaus, and I'm like,
I also sing some Klaus Schwab songs around the house too. I'm sorry, it is that cheesy sometimes.
That's what it takes.
Wait a
if
minute.
anyone took me seriously, it would like
How's
be
it going,
a very
lovely girl?
dark place to be.
Hi, sorry, I got an interrupter here.
Uh-huh.
Hi, I'll be back out now. Right, no, I
Monica,
don't.
that's really interesting because maybe we should be judged on what our partners are now buying as a result of being in a relationship with us. Because this morning my wife got a parcel and I said, "What's in it?" And she said, "Oh, it's presents for the family." So I was like, "Oh, fantastic. Let's have a look." It was a stun gun, three pepper sprays, and 2 Tanto knives.
Those are going in the stocking?
Yeah, I had to take a step back and I just thought for a second, what have I done?
Good. Oh my gosh, don't tell him, but I bought my husband, and this is when my son was like, "Mom, you know that was for you, right?" I bought him a battery and a solar panel. I was like, he's gonna love it. It was like so much money. My son was just like, "Mom, that is not a present for Dad. Like, that's a present for you." It's like, I don't know. I think he's gonna like it. He's not gonna like it. So anyway, my husband's present is for me. So, but it's cool. Like, it's a big battery, like a car battery, and you can plug. And I hate it because I hate solar power because I think it's a plot. I like oil, like to burn fossil fuels, but it's LA. Yeah, I know. It's fucked up because now I have like perverse incentive. I just can't get my. But they don't let it rain here, so it's always sunny. You will always have that battery charge because you can just lay the solar panel out. And I wasn't going to do it, but a listener suggested it, and I thought, I hate to buy in, but it's like when there were seatbelt laws. Like, I'm not wearing a seatbelt because it's a law. And then my husband's like, "Okay, that's stupid because like you can go through the window." I'm like, "That's true." So
solar's great, Monica. Just make sure that you have your solar so it's independent, like not connected to the grid. And then independent so that you own the system. I mean, that's what we've got here, and we have blackouts all the time, and it saved our asses.
A battery.
Minus 20 degrees winter, like we need that to like run our heating system. So it's really important.
How good are solar? Because I hear so much negative stuff about it. How good is the solar nowadays? How can you if you're storing it on your own system?
Where we are, Johnny, we don't get really any sun in winter. I mean, it's like we're basically like not like Scotland type weather over here in winter, so it's really cold. But even then, like we had last year, we had about 6 or 7 blackouts, and every one of them without that solar would have had nothing. So even with that, the batteries had enough charge, and we're getting just enough in to last maybe a 2-3 day blackout. And this was just a small setup. So the people who are like naysayers, they're probably people who are using it to like, oh, solar's shit because I can't run my fridge, my washing machine, and my 15 iPads. But at the end of the day, if you're in a real emergency situation, you're using it for lights, for a well pump, or
and
maybe
12 iPads.
Yeah, exactly. If you use it just properly, you'll be fine. 12 iPads, you're good. But no, so that's how we use it. Like we use it for emergency. But like if you really are living like one of these American lifestyles where there's a big, massive house. I mean, of course, it's not going to work very well, but I don't really think that's what it's meant for. Personally.
I'm selling this to my husband so what it is, it's a battery that looks like a car battery. It has one outlet in it, and it has just one cable that goes to a big solar panel. And I'm selling it to him as he has a freezer full of meat in the garage.
Oh, that's
and you
good.
do not want that going down. It's like aged ribeyes. Like for guys, a lot of aged ribeyes, you need the solar battery.
That's almost like bribery or blackmail or something. That's like there's got to be a word for it. Yeah. Oh, it's good.
Neat capping.
What about you, Matt? What are you getting for Christmas? What's your ideal present?
We're having a bit of an austerity Christmas, actually, because we're getting married next year.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, yeah. So, Monica, are you sitting down?
Uh-oh.
It's not to you. I'm not getting married to you. Don't worry. This isn't.
You're getting married to William.
This isn't the news. No, it's.
Do you, Monica? Come on, there's 2 witnesses here. All we need is a priest.
No, the wedding is going to be dinosaur themed.
Woo!
That is so adorable. I love fantasy.
They'll need the real dinosaurs.
Dragons.
So yeah, I think me and Monica both don't actually believe in dinosaurs.
No, I think they're ridiculous on their face, like the moon landing. Like you can try to prove it to me, but you're gonna have to prove it to me. The onus is on you.
Yeah, I'm just not having it. What a load of nonsense. There's no way you're telling me a raptor turned into a chicken.
Well, here's the problem, is that the bones aren't even bones. It's not even that they make clay out of the bones. The bones they don't even say that the bones are bones. They say that the bones are rocks that look like bones because they seeped into bones. But when that happens, like to wood, it's like quartz and colorful minerals. Like they don't look like wood anymore. It's just not going to look like a bone. So I think they have zero evidence whatsoever. There's not. I have so far seen mammoths lived. They have frozen mammoths, probably right down by you, but. No, mammoths.
I'm enjoying. I was in love with dinosaurs for my entire until I was maybe even when I got I was in love, and then as it was dying off and I was growing up, Jurassic Park came out, and it was like, oh my god, I'm a dinosaur, I'm a herbivore. Yeah, and straight back into it. But no, I am unsure on all of this. I can't tell you, and the unfalsifiable is not a realm I like to go into. Because if I can't prove it for myself, then I don't like it. I feel icky. I always feel funny about dealing with other people's sort of especially big systems, big organizations, especially scientific in nature. If you can look back through the history of science, nearly everybody who's a scientist was wrong at the time that they were alive. Nearly all of the scientists, like 97, 98% were definitively wrong about everything they said and they do at the time that they were living. Later on, of course, you disprove them, but they don't get remembered in the annals of history. There's a lot of scientists out there, so it's really hard. There's some really big characters were involved in the early natural history museum stuff, and there was lots of time where people were like, oh, we don't know what these things that look like bones are, and then suddenly now we know what they are, and so there's lots of wiggle room for something to have happened over time. I don't doubt it, but I don't know. I can't tell you. What I can tell you is, and what goes through my mind is my little boy. He's coming up to 1 year old, and he's got dinosaur clothes that make it makes me smile. It makes me go, I like dinosaurs.
No, enjoy it. That's what it's for. It's like Santa Claus. Enjoy.
No, we don't do Santa Claus. God, no.
Yeah, no, it is a setup. I did feel bad about the whole Santa Claus thing with my kids. I was like, I don't feel comfortable. But I loved what you said about the scientists being gone, because I say that also about the seatbelt thing. I'm like, you know what? When I was a kid, people didn't really wear seatbelts too much, but everyone, a lot of those people or some of those people are no longer with us. You never have somebody tell the story of how hurt they got when they didn't wear a seatbelt because they're not there. So the same thing about the scientists, you never hear about the ones that are wrong. And of course it would be almost all of them, because there's always a massive, community of academics since the beginning.
Wankademics. God, no, at the time, all of these groups. So you look at it now, and you look at all of this medical community, and we're like, how come is nearly all of the medical community speaking a load of nonsense and all being a load of bloody idiots and purposely putting in rules that don't make any sense? Why is this all happening now? But if you take it back 50 years ago and you examine a similar situation, there's a load of people saying, why is all the medical community completely and utterly and it's just the same, we just haven't lived in that 40, 50 years ago, so we just don't know, and it just keeps being the same. We're always completely slapping our heads and going, what's going on? Why is this happening? Every organization becomes corrupt. That's it.
Totally. All right, we should probably read that out loud in case we use audio. Sarah says, the story keeps changing. Now they have feathers and you're dumb if you don't agree. Which, of course, brings them full circle to birds, which is all they really are. Birds with eggs and feathers, and birds are dinosaurs.
Birds that tickle.
Yeah, that latest Jurassic Park, they just decided, now all the lethal ones have got feathers all of a sudden. Not like 93 when, they're all reptile-y and that.
And they're colored.
It's nonsense.
How the hell do they know?
Although I am willing to entertain the idea that the dinosaurs evolved into shape-shifting reptilians. Like that movie, what's that movie called? Where there's the inspector who's actually an Anonymous Rex. It's like a dreadful,
wait a minute,
Z-level movie or something.
Is this from the 80s with the thing that decapitates people and go, oh?
Maybe. I've not actually seen it. I've just read about it, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have to watch this at some point." It looks so bad. It's beyond B level movie stuff. It looks exhilarating. I think I will seek it out immediately.
So, are we saying can we make from this conversation that we agree that the Darwinian theory of evolution is incorrect? It doesn't
I think
exist.
it's mathematically impossible. No
We don't
chance.
have evidence.
It's mathematically impossible.
I agree. I'm with you.
At the very least, humans aren't involved in it.
Short term, it sounds alright. Short term, it sounds alright. Long term, gets a little bit rocky.
It's not the origin of species.
I made a load of grumbles, like would have been made by the whole scientific community when Darwin came out. No, I don't like any of this. This is all changing again. What do you say? These big beasts. What are you talking about, these bloody idiots? Yeah, well.
So, does anyone have any predictions for 2023? I, out of curiosity today, I had a quick look and I noticed that there aren't any major elections coming up in 2023. I believe the Polish elections are in December of this year, but it occurred to me this gives like them a full year without any real political upheaval in any particular country. So if they're going to implement anything in particular, there's a good chance it's going to be shortly, whilst they've got all their puppets in place, as it were. What does everyone think's coming down the pipeline in the next few months?
Well, the presidential cycle is a really important cycle in terms of, you look back through history and you use the presidential cycle to look at things like financial crisis, wars. There is often that progression, like you said, that in the third year, that'll be when they try and get in as much as they can because, of course, you don't have the election cycle until the next year. So, I'm expecting a lot of crisis. I'm expecting a lot of chaos. And I think the big one for me that I'm looking at is the financial crisis. That's the one that I don't think they're going to be able to make it out of 2023 without seeing a huge collapse of the financial system. I think they're trying to kick the can down the road, but we're going to get extremely high inflation because of it. And that's going to turn to hyperinflation eventually. So that's what I'm looking at in 2023. It's financial collapse. I'm not saying the whole system's going to come down, but I do think we're going to see things start to really fall apart. It's going to be like the World Trade Center just before the big crumble. That's what we're going to see this year. Next year.
Yeah. Sorry, I was listening and thinking about the financial system and how terrible it was. It's true enough that there's going to be, this is like 2023 officially is going to be the year where everybody starts hearing CBDCs. Everybody starts hearing it. It's not going to be the complete rollout because that's going to take like 5 to 7 years to really start to implement. But they've already released articles saying, the systems that currently run this can be suited for this and all of this. So they're already trying to get people prepared. This is when everybody finds out about it. So this is a point when everybody also finds out about things like expiry date on their money in the future. And you watch the old people. You watch how angry old people get at the idea. I think they won't be able, most old people won't be able to even confront the possibility and will act like it's conspiracy even when they tell it to their face. Because old people, like people like my mum and stuff, will be saved up for their entire life just to find out that their wealth can go in 2 ticks, before you know it's expired, and that will devastate them. They'll know what they are then. A lot of people will know what they are. I think there's going to be the same. I think there's going to be financial instability like never before, and lots of movements, lots of governments that will collapse in on themselves and stuff like that as it rolls up. One of the things I mentioned in the podcast with you before that I really think is going to happen is there's something big going to happen on the Ghislaine Maxwell front. I think that decision will be overturned, and that will be there's crazy things coming in the Epstein case in general, and I think there will be a lot of reevaluating what's been actually going on there by a lot of people, and the named victims, a lot of them, their stories are not going to add up once they're put under spotlight and really scrutinized. So I think that's going to happen. But I think the next year, this is Elon Musk is ascending, and as he's ascending, Klaus Schwab is coming down, and there's a technocratic moon about to cross here sometime in the next few years. The leaders of the technocracy are about to change hands at any time. Klaus has got loads of bad publicity. I already said this year that I think we're at peak World Economic Forum. There's so many holes appearing in it that you're going to start to see Klaus Schwab move away and something else rise up, and it's going to be something new looking, and it's going to be a different type of new world order, and that's going to come along with all of this financial turmoil. There's going to be a wave of people who suddenly over the next few years say, hey, we could be the answers to your problem. We're the young technocracy, we're the new technocracy, we're the new technocratic world order, and we've got all the solutions. Megacities, this, that, the other. It'll be the exact same thing Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum are offering, which is, if you look at what Musk offers now, is exactly what Klaus Schwab is offered in the past. So all of this, I think, is lining up for there to be a takeover over the next few years, but I think next year is a really important one. You've seen Elon Musk rise, and I think he's about to take over to be the king of the technocracy.
Wow. Can I pick up on that? So I've totally noticed since Elon took over that for the first time ever, my tweets are on the regular, flagged and suppressed and alerted. Never happened to me before. Now it's all over the place. He's definitely going to usher in a new era of social media control, get rid of Section 230. I don't know how they're going to play that psyop, but I totally agree. He's that face. Klaus could just as easily, I think you're probably right there. Just like I was saying, Kaczynski was pushed down my throat. So was the Great Reset. So was Klaus. Anybody who is kind of paying attention saw it first. Soros will probably die. Klaus can be scapegoated. And then you have, the new technocrat emerge, just like you have identity politics. I'm sure like the Elon Musk can be the Trumpian hero or whatever. And then I do agree with you. The financial stuff's going to go crazy, but I feel like FTX, that is there. That was a PSYOP designed to obviously have crypto regulated, but also to proliferate, to make it totally acceptable. Because once you square it away, then you can use it at movie theaters. You can use it here and there. You can use it as the basis of the CBDC. So that is that's definitely emerging. And then I feel like there is going to be increasing violence against politicians, and that will either create them being behind walls like in DC, or behind, be constantly shadowed by bodyguards that they do not control. I feel like that protection for politicians is not only to keep them from getting stoned to death because of the technocracy or tyranny that's coming down, but also to keep them in line. So in case they did want to step out and speak truth to power, or say, I'm not like Melania Trump, I think she would have spoken out, but they squared her away. I feel like that's the purpose behind politicians getting attacked. And I also think that we're going to see, and I don't know if people are going to acknowledge it or not, but very fast acting cancers. That people are going to go from 0 to stage 4 very quickly, whether it's COVID or vaccines. I think that's one of the places where COVID as a bioweapon and the vaccine as, that bioweapon being injected will have this problem, which is it can stimulate rare and fast acting diseases. That whole thing about people with underlying conditions are more prone to dying of COVID. I think that will be true kind of in the long term, the medium term, the next year or two as well. Too negative? Wait.
No.
I will continue to make great cocktails and spill them.
Do you think the COVID and the vaccine are the same thing?
I think that they made the vaccine out of the spike protein of all the pieces of the genetic chain that they needed to take. They took the one thing that actually is a fusion protein that can create blood clots, and that is the thing that is bad for you. Mm-hmm. So it's not exactly the same thing, but it is that thing, and that's the problem. So I think when people are getting, I know a few people in both camps having had severe COVID, or having had a lot of, vaccines or vaccine reaction, having these cancers that I had never observed before, like that real fast decline. And and it makes me think that really it is basically the same thing.
We just had one the other day, a woman the daughter of somebody that we know, same age as me, got told you need to have a double mastectomy within the next 3 weeks.
Highly inflammatory breast cancer. Yeah, I know someone with that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot. When I was back in Britain a couple of months ago, I've seen talked with some people, and there's terrible stories around the place.
Terrible.
And they'll say, I got all of these issues, and I'm glad I got it, because otherwise it would have been worse.
Yeah, but I think it's they but still... that's the thing. Like, they're like, well, you should have gotten vaccinated to people who have suffered from this, but it's a bioweapon. This is not a normal thing for us. We handle that. You don't get cancer from a cold. Like, it does not happen. They basically admit that they did the gain of function stuff. They call it a leak, but it obviously wasn't, because they were injecting it in people's arms. So that's not an accident. But yes, I'm sad to say that is true. But I also think, just to white pill a little bit, if the human person, assuming that those gene therapies don't actually change the fundamental makeup of mankind, our entire existence since the beginning of the slave tax state has been, a struggle to keep the remnants alive, to kick the can of tyranny down the road. And I'm going to keep that up, and I'm going to make sure I enjoy the ride. I'm going to hug my kids and have my cocktails. And I feel like, it does seem like the end of the world, because the surveillance state is so powerful with these screens and everything, but that's why they have to constantly propagandize you, because they have tamed us, but they have not truly domesticated us. So there is, as an individual, I have hope that they will not control what makes me free.
I think one to acknowledge as well, and this is something that I always go back to in terms of what's happened to us the past few years, is that nothing was ever, and I'm speaking for myself here, so somebody might come along and say, actually, no, it wasn't the same thing, but I don't feel like, for us in this chat here, nobody came along and forced us into anything. It was all, they had to convince us to do it, and they also revealed the method long before we saw the harms of it. And I don't know why that is. I'm still trying to figure it out. But it does seem to me like you have to opt into this shit. It's not, no one's come and dragged me out. No one's forced a mask on me. I was traveling across Europe. I never took a test once. Across the borders, did it the scenic route. I never had any problems. And I think for most people, it would have been the same had they not have been terrified into doing these things. And specifically, you had to go and take it. You did have to go and take it. And I think the future is going to look much the same. You're going to have to opt into these things. Now, it might be psychologically difficult to not do it, but if you've done it once, you'll do it again. And I think that's a white pill too.
No, I had this 2 years of pain in my ass. I arrived in Chile just before Chile went into extreme lockdown, where you could only leave the house with the police's permission for 2 hours to go shopping twice a week if you, and that's crazy, because everywhere is far away in Chile, so you do half an hour to get into the town and half an hour to get back, and you're supposed to pick up everything was closed anyway. You can't even pick up your kids. Everybody was stuck inside, and it was this if you don't take it, you're going to be forced to stay inside. That was the feeling in Chile. And when we left Chile and went to Britain for a bit, and it was a bit better. Britain was a bit better. It was a bit more open. But then I couldn't get back into Chile again, because they wouldn't let us. So my baby got born in Chile, and I missed out on my baby's birth because they stopped me from going in. So that was just basic. I couldn't go across any borders. I couldn't fly to any other countries nearby. They were all the same. They're just if you're not vaccinated, you can't come in. And I can understand, people's lines are really, really far down. That for most people, that wanting to have that experience in their life would be enough to get jabbed and just go on your way and hope for the best. And the thing is that you have to have foresight. You have to think about the fact that all of the worst things they want to do is what they're going to aim at and what they're going to try and push on us. And there's going to be times like this. There's going to be times like this for the next few years. When I finally got back over to Chile, it's when Whitney did a book tour around America America. She went in and had a couple of interviews, and I couldn't go with her. I'm not allowed in America. You know, I'm treated like I'm some sort of like, yeah, I had COVID right at the start. I had Omicron right at the start of the Omicron thing. So I'll have antibodies, and it won't affect me negatively and all of that. But they don't care. This isn't about any disease. This is about separating people and drawing those lines. And those lines are really important to understand, because that's exactly how these things work. It takes, just like the most logically minded person, it takes them minutes to change their mind if you say you can't do this though. And people have different thresholds, and all they have to do is push away the first time, and people drop their thresholds, and they let it all in. And then they just do what you say. And all of those people is all you need. Next time, those people will be with you and more. You know, it's just... And for them, they've been this agenda, this vaccination agenda, this fear in anti-vax, make fear about anti-vaxxers and all this. This has been going on for 150 years. 170 years. This has been going on since the birth of vaccines. This is just like they constantly... There's been people who've been like, I don't want to be injected. Can you imagine in the early 1900s or late 1800s, someone coming along with technology of that time and saying, all right, you're going to lick this calf lymph, that's what you're going to do, and that'll stop you getting cowpox, and like, you're going to be ill, but you won't be as ill as you would be otherwise. And like, for lots of people, that didn't make logical sense, and a lot of people were, in my opinion, educated actually better back then. You know, you'd be surprised that
John Adams' child was killed by a vaccine.
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all, because this is an agenda that's been going on for ages and ages, and it's about them doing the same thing, which is looking for the elixir of life, looking for the a cure to all diseases, the antidote to any problems, so that they can have it. And for that, you often need to infect the poor and test on them, because we've really, a lot of the world, before it changes, a lot of the people have to realize that the first port of call for rich people is to treat poor people as guinea pigs. That's it. You know, anybody, and if you were rich, if you were really rich and brought up in a rich family and surrounded by the same ethical sort of like paradigms everywhere, you would do the same probably as well. You know, we here now, and the people watching at home who agree with us, may be the people who escaped from a very slippery net that lots of people get caught up into. But it's finding those limits, and these big events allow them to push the limits upon people and push them further back and what is normal and acceptable. Because I remember someone in about 2018 saying to me, there's no way they could in Britain we would wear masks like they do in China. I remember that being said to me in a hotel, and I believed it too. I had that feeling that it could, no way. And once I saw it happen, I was just devastated. I was just like, this is humanity. We bend over so easily, and they keep pushing us as far as we'll bend over.
For me, there is one logical fallacy in the whole thing, which I've been trying to wrap my head around, and it's the idea that, like, if you've maybe all listened to Charlie Robinson's podcast, Progressions, where he's talking about the Deagle report, where they're predicting like how many people are still going to be alive in a couple of years' time and whatnot. And what I've struggled to get my head around is, why would they vaccinate to death all the people who are compliant with what they want to do? And I've toyed with a couple of ideas of like why this might be the case, and then what has worried me is the idea that like contained within this vaccine is actually the vaccine to the next pandemic, so that when the thing does come down the line, then we're all knocked off because we are not going to be taking that either. That's a concern.
I don't think that's true. I think the first thing you've got to think about that on Matt is they would never ever do something that would potentially harm themselves. You know, that's just doesn't make sense. You know, these people, their whole agenda is to try and become godlike and live forever. You know, that's the goal, isn't it? It's transhumanism. We're going to live forever, and then we're going to enslave everyone else, and you're going to live for a few years till we're done with you. That's the idea. And I don't think we should. Personally, I don't think we should be going down the path where we consider that the goal was just to kill people. I think that's a they knew that some people would die for sure because they've been testing this privately, 100%. Now they'll know what the effects are going to be. But I think it's more based around the transhuman agenda, and they're trying to get the human being, let's say, conditioned for these materials that they're going to be putting in us. You know what I mean? They want to get us prepared for it, and there's going to be stuff in the future. Of course, the first batch is going to probably wipe out some people, and that's good because they want to get rid of people too. But I don't think that was the actual end goal. I think the end goal is to get us ready for the next stage of transhumanism, because they want us to be fully injectable. And when you look into the agenda around 5G, then 6G, and the Internet of Bodies and the Internet of Things, everything needs to be hooked up, including you. But to do that, you need to get the body, the human body, ready for it. You know what I mean? Our bodies are going to reject some of these things that they're putting into us. However, maybe if you keep giving it to us, particularly with boosters again and again, some people will survive. And those people that survive, maybe their children will be able to handle it too. Now, I'm not sure, but that's just one element. Personally, I don't think that they were just trying to kill people, although I do think that's probably a positive for them if some people do get rid of. But they'll have probably known that ratio to begin with, how many were going to die and how many were going to survive.
There's absolutely a diminishing returns, though, because most people, I say most, plenty of people have seen through the vaccine even after taking it at this point. So it's like there's going to be a law of diminishing returns for them. Like, how are they going to get the second round of things into people? Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, we discussed that. I mean, one of the things that we heard about was there was a lot of anti-radiation medicine going around Europe. So, you know, there could be a different kind of scare that would medicalize people, because there was a guy over here that was doing a lot of research on it, a doctor, and he was outspoken during the COVID pandemic. And he said he basically did a lot of freedom of information requests, and he found out that these tablets were actually already produced, but then were going back to the factory, and it was the same factory where the vaccines were coming from, then coming back out of the factory and being sent across Europe. So that pricked my ears up, because it was like, well, you know, what's going on there? Why are you sending an already formed product? That's a very simple product. You know, these iodine tablets, essentially. Why were they going back to a factory and then coming back out again? Now, I don't know what it is, but I think they'll find a way. I do think they'll be able to convince a lot of people to take more medicines or pharmaceuticals along the way. I mean, there will be a diminishing return in people like us, and I guess people like us never took anything to begin with, most of us, but there will be another set above us that were like, whoa, we saw what happened, we're not going to take any more. But for the masses in general, I mean, I think they'll still take it. And their problem will then be people like us who never took anything. That'll be what they're focused on. How do we deal with those people? Because those people are like, you know, we basically can prove that you can continue without the medicine. So that'll be the problem.
I got it slightly, because I think there's like, where can you imagine where Venn diagrams, the parts of a Venn diagram meet as the most turbulent, and it's like reset as we go over from this previous stage of humanity to this transhumanist stage. Everything's going to go very quickly all of a sudden, and there's going to be loads of things that happen, and I think they know they're entering into that stage. This is the first stage of something where when the rest of it happens, it'll be happening too quick around us. Now, if their plan, their Georgia Guidestone plan of reducing it to like 500 million works, and say there was 250 million of them left and 250 million of us left, that would be as convenient for them, because they have all the resources and all the means to live a better lifestyle than we have, where we'll be like, oh well, we'll just go back to the plantation and farm, because that's what most people will do. So they'll still be in control to some sort of extent, but they won't have to worry about us, because by that time automation and robots will be so good that they'll push us out of the good land and they'll keep the good land for themselves. And that's kind of much more like a sort of stark future if this goes really progressively worse really quickly. If they suddenly start releasing a load of different bioweapons, I mean, they released one, it might have been more, who knows, the different strains might have been released at different times. but they've released something. It's happened before, again and again and again throughout history, and they're at a point of an agenda that they really want to make people change their biological makeup. And as soon as they put one of these things in us, as soon as they release it, we all go, oh God, we better get an injection or whatever they say to us. That impetus will keep remaining over and over with the majority of the population. And if it doesn't, they can boost up the amount that anything can kill somebody, and then you see people jumping on board. You know, people in our camp will be like, okay, no, that's enough. All right, then I will definitely get it this time. And who knows? By that time, maybe their vaccines will help a little bit in some way, but they'll also do other things and, you know, be testing other things and have batches for different areas and different people. And by that point, you've got the sustainable development goals, and it's good not to go 20 miles outside your area and everybody stays in their little boxes and you own nothing and you're happy and all of this sort of stuff, so they can control and look at how everything is working and how their whole, you know, they could give different batches of different chemicals to everybody, and who would know? Eventually we're approaching a point where this thing's going to roll out of control. It's not going to go at this pace forever. This is an agenda. They've got somewhere they want to go, and it's going to go really fast. And I think this is why the 2030 thing is so important to them, is because they believe that within this time now, from this moment for the next 8 years, things are going to increase at a speed that means that it's takeoff for their agenda. So that means that there's going to be a lot more of this sort of stuff. However it forms, whether it's pandemics and illnesses or something else, it'll be all to get us to put things in ourselves, of course.
Do you ever wonder if your work ever crosses Klaus Schwab's desk?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'd say he would have read at least something of what has been done. It's quite surprising. Like, you know, I know that Nicole Youngkerman's some big thing. She goes around doing a load of stuff, but she also gets her solicitors to wipe me off the face of the internet. So I mean, she's obviously looked at the words written down, and they are humans. They are humans. They're not going to read everything, but if something really important about their background that shows them shows a lie comes up, then they've got to know it, and its PR marketing team have got to tell them so they know not to say something out of place or something that can then come up in a question. So they'll know all of the things that are out about them. But these guys are just human beings, and if something important to us comes up, we go and look at it, because we're human beings and we got to see what's going on. And these guys, I think they're just human beings. You could all argue with that if you want.
Monica, you spoke to David Icke recently. He'd probably say they weren't human beings.
As anticipated, I knew that he would just do his thing. So the first 30 minutes, he just did his thing. And it's that thing, it's the world is a simulation, which I can understand, even that being beyond metaphor, in that isn't the binary system on and off, and isn't the nervous system just on and off, fire not fire? I mean, it's almost, you could think of it as, by definition, that's what it is. It's just so he did tell his story of the trap, and then I asked him a few questions. One thing that I'm really eager to see is he's doing a documentary called Albion: Heart of the World. And I am curious to know, I'm sure the research is good, why England, tiny England, seems to be the world hegemon still, whether above board or behind the scenes. No? What? You grumble all the time. What are you grumbling at? That's not true?
No, I'm Welsh, so the idea that England is the heart of the world is despicable to me. It's like, no, and these guys, they think they're English, but they're not really. No, the English are actually French, and the Northern Englanders, like these boys, and people more up north and just on the skirtings of the Watling Street, they're not quite English per se. No, they're all from other tribes. So I don't quite believe in it, but I do believe that a London-centric crowd has been ruling the world for quite a while.
Yep.
they've been ruling it partially with the. I mean, they're clever boys. They're clever boys. They've done some really clever stuff, and they've managed. They're not really English. The ruling class are Germans, you know, the majority of them. So it's like it's weird when people say England. It's like, for me, I've done a lot of research over what England is, and England is being made up by the Tudors, like Wales was made up by the Tudors. It's just at that time, the annexation of Wales, England is England and Wales is Wales, and now that truth is forever shall be that way. I don't agree with it. I think there's loads of diversity in England, but I think that it's North French. The North French, it's just the North French who inhabit southern East England. They're the problem. They're the issue.
Well, now I have less hope for that documentary being like awesome popcorn eating, Christmas Eve watching. But yeah, who knows? Like, it was an interesting conversation, and you know, just when you get people really used to giving their spiel, like, there isn't a lot of room for, come on, shape-shifting lizard people, defend yourself. You know, like that's not happening. But it was fun.
He's very interesting, though, in general. Like,
he's good. He's
probably
good.
Put him on the Mount Rushmore of, you know, like conspiracy.
Definitely.
You know, like, Johnny's not convinced, I don't think.
No. I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by it all. I've met Gareth and Jamie. They've come over to my house once.
Wow.
We had they stopped by to see me and Whitney, and it was just wonderful. I go on Iconic TV on a fair few occasions, and I don't know. I think there's like I think it's all very difficult. Ike is one of the most important people within conspiracy history, in one of the most important people, and he has a fundamental right to be heard, and he has been censored more than most people. And I think that 99.99% of what he says is spot on. And there's this 0.1% that, I don't know, but that's the same I am with most things. But the essence of what he says is about the beauty of humanity, and the fact that that's being taken away by this other sort of like creature that lies within humanity itself. You know, I think it's something that's innate within some humans and not within others, and it's like a balance within each person. This, like, you know, the dark and light sides. We all know the what balances us. I think we all describe it in different ways. So I meet lots of religious people in Chile. Any of the expat communities, any of the people from America and stuff, they're nearly all libertarians, and they're nearly all Christians. You know, they're really strong and devout Christians, and they're escaping this horrible devil-like world out there, and they're very nice. But I find I have a lot in common with them nowadays, because all of it is really, really visible now. It's about good and evil, and David Icke, he's on the good side of history. He's not on the evil side of history. So his family are just wonderful. They're really nice guys, and I think they're like, you know, they're targeted for a reason. It's because he's one hell of a powerful speaker. He's got a soul that captures people's imagination and their conscious thought as it happens. When he speaks, people are listening to him and they want to hear more. And that's a really important thing that not many people have. And he's a really important human being. So I do have lots positive to say about him.
I always say that the two things that will get you killed is if you have firsthand insider knowledge, and the other thing is if you're charismatic. Mm-hmm. You're uniquely charismatic.
Charisma, and as like JFK or Robert F. Kennedy sort of charisma is what they're you know, is dangerous as hell. That's the type. Martin Luther King charisma, Malcolm X charisma. Yeah. All of these people, when they are able to make an impact on people and explain really simple things in just a couple of lines, they're gone pretty quickly. It's dangerous to be concise and from a big political family.
Yeah, it was very interesting what you said there about the light and the dark. I think that was the main theme of that documentary you appeared on, the Great Reset. Mm-hmm. That was really interesting. That pretty much summarized everything that's going on.
Yeah, it was a really strange one because the guys were really religious guys, and they got like the people that we worked with who came and interviewed us and interviewed all of the different people and filmed the whole thing and put it all together. They got pushed off the production right at the end. They made this whole thing, and then the guy at the top of this news channel just said, "Everybody off. That's it. I'm taking you to court. I'm taking all of the rights and all of that stuff. I want the glory." But it really did summarize it really well and wasn't preachy, which is something you'd expect from something that was made by religious people. You know, before an interview, when someone says, "Do you mind if we pray?" It's just like, I know, I'm not too keen on it most of the time, but I will accept it as a kindness towards others.
You gotta respect. You gotta respect people as long as they're in good faith.
Yeah. Well, these guys were very nice guys. One of them is a very spicy fellow who's made some other movies that are a bit like, I'm not sure about that. Something in the Water, I think, was one of them that he made. There's been a couple of conspiracy ones they made alongside Stu Peters, which have been a little bit like, they did Died Suddenly as well. Documentary, same guys. Very interesting guys, very good. I mean, the one Matthew Scow is one of the nicest guys I think I've ever met. So, you know, it's like, I'm really, for me, it was the first time involved in a project like that, where someone comes and says, we want to interview you. And we were just in between going to Britain during COVID, so we had to go via Mexico, or we would have had to stay in a quarantine hotel for 10 days with a 5-year-old. That would be insane. So we were just like, no, we'll go to Cancun instead, which was a journey, oh God, an adventure in itself. But yeah, man.
We've somehow managed to not make this sad, drunk dystopian talk. We all seem to still have smiles on our faces, which is actually quite incredible given the subject matter. But then I suppose it is Christmas, so that's nice, isn't it? How are you all for time?
Everyone in this chat has probably been so saturated in this subject matter the last 2 years that it's lost all potency for us.
Best way to write.
And I've got the anti-Klaus flowing, but I did just hear my special son come home, and I fear what he's doing in the kitchen right now, so I think I do have to.
Yeah, I may have to leave very soon because the kid just came in and went, hello.
Yeah, it's going to get closer and closer. I do expect that any moment to be invaded in my little tiny corner of the world here.
Oh, that's cool. I mean, we've gone 2 hours, so we should probably call it a day. So, I mean, thank you to the audience who's joined us live to watch us drink bugs. Although it was only me that drank the bugs in the end. I genuinely thought more of you would bring bugs. I don't know. But thanks to all of you. You've all obviously helped me personally improve this show with suggestions and whatnot and keeping me going. Do you all want to plug your shows before we sign off? Plug what you're doing?
Sure, I'll do
my thing. You want to go first?
Yeah,
Trevor?
I'll go. So my website's monicasdeepdives.com, and I have a show, Deep Dives with Monica Perez, which you can find on your favorite podcasting platform, where I talk to guys like this, either swapcasts or dive masters who know something that I don't know about something interesting to the truth and liberty communities. And I also do once or twice a week, I'll just take some headline and figure out what's really going on. I think I just did 2 on the FTX scandal. I have a totally different take on that. And I think my next one's going to be like, what is going on with homelessness and housing? And, so I just try to get a deep dive on, the story behind the news. And I'm also on rockfin.com/propaganda report, which was my last show.
Weren't you just on with Sam Tripoli? Was that on his?
Yes, that was yesterday. I think that they released that today. Yeah, he also, I'm sure that was on rockfin.com/Sam Tripoli. And we were supposed to talk about FTX, but he wanted to talk about the meaning of life as he does. So there you go. You get a little something you don't normally get from me, but it was always hilarious. But not like this, because he doesn't drink. So you gotta be on your game.
Yeah, you can't let yourself go like you can on here. Mike, what have you got planned?
Yeah, so I'm host of the Parallel Systems broadcast. At the minute, it's a YouTube channel, but it will be a podcast in the new year because YouTube keep tanking my channel with every new video that I make. I get held back because of the subject matter. So yeah, and what we talk about over there is about protecting ourselves from the incoming financial and probably societal collapse as well. So I'm the kind of person who went off grid, basically grows our own food, raise animals, and went back to living the old ways. So I help people out with that too, people who want to exit the mainstream and start to build this decentralized life. So that's what we talk about too. I also talk a lot about psychological health and keeping yourself resilient throughout all of this. I used to work in counseling and therapy, so every week we do a live stream all about the prepared mindset, so making sure that we're tough enough and building those personal qualities to get through what's coming. So that's me.
Yeah, your shows are always very interesting. Like, I try and catch them as often as possible. Johnny, please tell me you're writing something about Jeremy Vine.
Yeah, no, amazing! I tell you, I'm going to be talking to Mike soon enough. I need a hell of a load of advice on homesteading and creating just that sort of sustainable living way. No, Jeremy Vine did DM me trying to find out about Anna Breeze, who doesn't like me at all. She's from South Wales and she does not like me at all. And he was asking about her. What's her thing? And this is one of the people. Did he not even look at my timeline? Did he not even care to see who he's speaking to? Because I just he still hasn't had his message request accepted. He's still in my spam folder down there, and I was gonna reply with some sort of hateful thing, and I was just like, nah, ignore him like he's a piece of dirt, because he really is a piece of dirt, man. He really is. It's really weird now. I'm on johnnyvedmore.com, fungymonkey.com. I'm writing for Unlimited Hangout. I've got 7 articles roughly already basically written up, ready to go, just going through the draft stages now. Some of it goes back in time and looks through history. The next one's kind of the next part of the Schwab article. One thing I'm enjoying doing at the moment is the news hounds. I'm a news hound, so I go back into the newspaper archives and I look on a certain matter like Klaus Schwab or Elon Musk, and I go back early and I have a little look through. My most recent news hound got kicked off YouTube within about half an hour. It's called the Anti-Vaccinators. I go back as far as 1898 to find anti-vaccine propaganda in the newspaper, and the second one was fantastic. It was really beautiful. But I find it really interesting. I take people on a dive through time and propaganda and see what the similarities are. And I'm just hoping to I'm hoping to tell loads of really unique, interesting stories that lead to people being able to be tooled up with the information to battle the questions. So once upon a time they couldn't say who Klaus Schwab was. Now they can say where he come from. They can say who his father was. They can say who his grandfather was, and they know all of the things he's done throughout. I want to give people those sort of tools with sources attached. So it's really important that I'm on Rockfin as well. That's a place where you really don't get banned very easily. If you go over to YouTube, in some countries, you search my name and I just don't come up. Just none of my videos come up. It was really embarrassing with a taxi driver in Chile. He was like, oh, can I listen to some of your music? I was like, yeah, type me in. And then it was like I didn't exist on YouTube in Chile. It was a very sad affair. So people go to my site if you want to see something, if you want to find all the work. Thanks for having me, man. It's been fun. It's been nice to meet all you guys too.
Now, thank you all for joining me. If you've enjoyed my podcast so far, please follow the social medias, the Buy Me a Coffee link, donate a little bit to help me buy some books or keep the internet on. I have a couple of fun guests lined up for January, talking about climate change and depopulation, all the usual cheery stuff that we tend to cover. Please seek out everybody on here's work, their channels and shows. It's all excellent stuff. They're all very good people as well. the kind of people that we will need to stop us slipping into the future that we're all concerned about. So, with that in mind, Merry Christmas, everyone, and thanks for joining the Dark Side.
Ooh.
And that is us off the air.